intention of posting it. If your intention of posting it is because you want to make people feel single, like you know how or how you saw it when you were single and other people were in relationships, that's not a good intention because it's like you're intentionally posting this not just because you love the person. Like when I get my girl, if I'm a poster, it's only a poster because I'm showing love or I'm showing care, not just because I want to just flex to y'all real quick. I got a girl and some of y'all don't. You know what I'm saying? You know, like my girl is not gonna be my IG page. Some of y'all, and it's not even a diss, cause it's true. But some of y'all girl is your Instagram page, or your man is your Instagram page. Not a diss. Like I said, it's cool y'all are in love, but I'm just saying, like, at that point, just start a couples channel or just start an Instagram page as a couple. Just saying. But that's my take. I will pass it right back to Emmanuel. He's gonna have more wisdom on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and to each his own. If you want to post your life, post your life. I know I won't. Like, if I'm in a relationship, you're not gonna know. You're not even gonna know her name. I'll make sure she doesn't. Her friends and well, obviously, in real life, but her followers on her page won't know my name. I just like keeping my life separate from the camera. Okay, of course, like when it's topics like this, I don't mind coming on. But like we're talking about just everyday life, like no, that's separate. But to the point, we could also move on to this topic, just love in general, right? I know we were talking about this off camera, but people always think of the emotion love. And don't get me wrong, there is an emotion, but people don't really know what they mean when they say love, right? It requires more action, duty, and sacrifice, right? When people are like, I want to find the one that I can love, most of the time they don't really mean it, right? Because what that entails too is, sacrificing some of your wants and desires for that person, and then vice versa. But a lot of y'all are coming in it from, what can I get? What do I want from this person? How can they make my life better? And don't get me wrong, those are good questions to ask because no relationship is gonna work if you're not getting anything out of it. But you can't completely just be like, this is only for me, my benefit only, or it's not really going to work. That's why it doesn't last. Right, a lot of relationships don't last in general right now because people don't even love themselves, as we've been discussing, but they don't even know how to love in general. Right. For example, there's been some crazy people just breaking up in like the streamer world out of nowhere. I'm not gonna go too long into it, but some girl had like cancer or something for like a while, and the guy was helping him out. That's love, She's going through that. He's helping her through thick and thin. She's had rough days. He's there, and she eventually beat it. But then what does she do? She leaves him she leaves the relationship, breaks it off, and it's just like what? Now, I'm not gonna go get too deep because it may be a little controversial. I'm not trying to be controversy to your page, but I think you guys get the picture. I think a lot of people lack the ability, as we've been saying, to self love. They don't understand what it is to love, and we see that word get thrown around a lot, and we also see a lot of problems going on. So it's crazy. I'm not gonna take it up too long, but hey, a lot of people on Valentine's Day are talking about, oh yeah, I love this person, I love this and that, but what are you doing off the screen? What are you doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday? What are you doing all the 364 days that aren't holidays, that aren't birthdays, that aren't special occasions? What are you doing every day? And if you can't answer that question, then you gotta ask yourself, do you really love that person like you thought? Because hey, when we with our families, they do things when they didn't want to, especially when we were little kids. You know, maybe your parents didn't want to stay up late, maybe your parents didn't want to do this or that, but they still did it because they loved us. But a lot of y'all aren't doing that for your significant other. I'm sorry, I've seen it too many times. A lot of y'all are not doing that. I'm gonna pass it on to you, Zach.
No, Dave. I mean, you're hitting home. Like, genuinely, like, it's a question you have to ask yourself. Do you really love? Do you really love the person, or do you love the intention? And I would say, like, you know, I mean, we're only 18 years old, but like we've seen it firsthand. Some people they love the attention that love gives them instead of just the person itself. And I think it's a really sad reality because it's like, well, if you guys are, like I said earlier, if you guys are only together for the attention of other people, like you're never going to be happy. And I just feel
Mhm.
like that's just like Valentine's Day, you really can't get a full story of everything. Or, they've made even more days. National Girlfriend Day, National Boyfriend Day, like it's just more holidays for people to just like pretend to be in love. Now, I'm not saying that everybody posts on Valentine's Day is faking love because no, like, I've seen some beautiful couples like Magic Johnson and his wife, or Russell Wilson and Sierra, or Jaden Daniels and Juju Watkins. Nah, let me stop. But like I've seen
Yeah.
some I've seen some great couples, and like that's good stuff. But I think like just your friend from high school or your friend from college posting their significant other, if you like, especially if you know them, like you truly don't know the full story. And like you said, it's all about what you do off camera. Like love is one of those things like, look, you can find out really easily if you don't love somebody because it's more than just a feeling. Yes, of course, you know, when you love somebody, you feel a sense of strong for them, but there's going to be days in that relationship where that love is not there, where, you'll be able to tell if it was just infatuation or not. And, that's the problem in our society. There's a lot of infatuation out there. And, it's hard to really tell. So I want to get your perspective on that. You know, how could you tell from the infatuation out there versus the real love that's under it?
Um, just looking at the dynamic and how the people talk in the relationship or how they speak about it, right? More often than not, a lot of the good relationships, like when we're talking about, you don't really hear about. You're aware of it, but you're not really in tune to everything going on. Of course, you might hear about things here and there, but like I told you, like even back in high school, you could think about people like, oh yeah, they've been together for a while. That's all they would really say. But like people who already been broken up, were together for like a year or like a couple months, you could hear all these stories. But to add on to that, I think people who are more there for each other and are not really in it for themselves. I feel like a lot of times both genders are in the relationships for their own personal goals. And don't get it twisted. You should have your own personal goal for a relationship because at the end of the day, you are here for something. But a lot of times it's just me, and not, well, hold up, what could I do for the other person or what's best for them? And even today, like, and okay, this might be a little controversial, but it's just another thought I had. Not only do I think Valentine's Day you could say is a business marketing scheme to, make us all spend money, but then think about it for like the guy's perspective, right? And I know some girls do show love to their men on Valentine's Day, but let's be real, right?
Shout out to
I don't know
y'all.
about y'all. I don't care about some chocolate. I don't care about a bear. I don't pay, actually, I'll take a gift card. I'll take a gift card. I got a cash app, so if any of y'all like my messages, I'll put in the link below. But like on a real note, it's like this is really like a holiday for the females. And there's nothing wrong with having a holiday for like the females, but it's like, what are they really doing for us? You know what I'm saying? And this is not like a selfish thing, but you have to ask yourself. Now, I have seen some girls today, you know, show some love to like, their guy. But in general, right, it's like people are asking you, what are you doing for your girl on Valentine's Day? Or they're asking the guy, do you have a Valentine? If not, but vice versa, you don't really hear that. And then in fact, yesterday, February 13th was Galentine's Day, which would even prove that this holiday really is for women, and that's not a problem. We have Mother's Day, we have National Girlfriends Day. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a holiday for just women, but if this holiday is just about love and only one gender is getting it, you gotta ask the question. And again, I know some of y'all ladies out there are actually doing your role, playing your part. So if that's you, this does not include you. But on a general scale, it's like the guys expected to show up, put in some work. I mean, don't get me wrong, he should, but still, we need to see both sides of this quote unquote love. Um, it more seems like a validation thing, a societal thing, and just something that we're all expected to do, but nobody really knows why. It's just like This is how it is. And it goes back to the whole point. Is this really love or is this really the feeling? Etc. And also too, it would be curious if like a guy was telling his girl he would not celebrate Valentine's Day. How would she react? Would she like, be really upset, break down, even start crying? And if so, what would that entail? Would that mean like this day is like only is the only way she can get proof or validation of his love, or even vice versa, I guess, if the guy was really wrapped up. Like in general, like these days, these holidays, these establishments, or these societal expectations, like it shouldn't really hold that much weight. And you really gotta it really ties back all the way back to self-love. You know, is this what defines you? Are you not okay with just you or just your significant other? Does it have to be more than that? But I think I said enough. I'm gonna pass it back to you, Zach.
No, that's. I mean, you're just making great points there. Like, you really have to think about it. Like, listen, you know, excuse me, that's we're just gonna keep that in there. But like, bro, like, genuinely, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, for my ladies out there, for y'all, for the ones that y'all take care of y'all man, I appreciate y'all for that. But we genuinely have to think, like, hey, man, you know, we have to think Valentine's Day is not a holiday where you know, men are getting like a validation. If we do something nice on Valentine's Day, it's just as he should. You know what I'm saying? As he should. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. But like I said, my whole philosophy is, and we're gonna get into Valentine's Day next year because it's a big one because it's on the Super Bowl, and I can't wait to hear your take on that.
Oh, shoot.
But, and we'll that's a separate entity in itself, so we'll get to that. But my whole thing with this day is that look, like I said earlier, my girl would understand. Like I would make every day feel like Valentine's Day, and you could call me performative in the comments, but this is how I really feel. Like I would make every day feel like Valentine's Day. It wouldn't just mean I would buy her gifts every day or everything like that, but it would be actions. It would be not just words, but actions. And, you know, would I post her every day on my story and tell you guys how much I love her? No. I would text her every day and tell her how much I love her. Obviously, when we get to a certain stage, like, you don't want to just come out the gate just straight love bombing and everything like that. But,
Yeah.
you know, like, that's what I would do. Like, I'm not like I don't need to show you guys how much I love my girlfriend, you know? And I think that's the problem with our society. Like I said, is that everybody wants to show everyone else how much they love their significant other. And it's like, no, like, I mean, we get you guys love each other, but do you guys really show that love off camera? Like you said, like, there's a Drake song that's like, looks like we in love, but only on camera. Like, you know what I'm saying? We really don't know. And I said the people who do all that off camera stuff, credit to them. But you just like you got it. It's hard to really tell, but Dave, I'll get your final thoughts on that, and then we can talk about the Super Bowl being on Valentine's Day because I know it's gonna be a big
Nah,
one.
100%. I think the moral of the story is first, you have to have self love to even love in general. You really have to know who you are. I feel like a lot of people are only defined by their relationships, but I think everyone's bigger than their relationship. Of course, if you have a good one, it's going to be a big part of your life, and you can't necessarily talk about your life without it. But that's not the only thing, especially at this age. Um, Shoot, you gotta figure out what you want in this life. You gotta figure out why you're here. You gotta figure out what you do and don't like, because some things you might do that you actually don't like. Like again, and this might be scary for some of y'all. I mean, even for me, it's like, I don't know if I want to do this, but if you actually just sit in your room, no distractions, just you and yourself, it's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna be like, I don't even want to do that. But I promise you, that's the first step into taking real results. And just asking yourself simple questions. Um, Love is not necessarily this feeling, so it's more of actions. Like self-love could be, I don't feel like eating healthy, but this is what my body needs. Or self-love may be like, honestly, like I don't like doing this, even though my friends want me to do this.